Hello again, folks. Before I get into today's first video, what the fuck? The wind around here is driving me fucking nuts. Before I get into the first video of the day, I wanted to clear something up. I keep seeing idiots talking shit, telling people that John and I are just trying to make money off of dead people, which I find fucking hilarious. Because apparently, when Entertainment Tonight did it, or the news, or newspapers, or the Inquirer, or people talk about the evidence in the case, or they talk about the case, they're not trying to make money off of dead people. They're just spreading the word. They're just reporting the news. What's the difference? Oh, yeah, that's because I don't own a gigantic fucking studio yet. So knock your shit off. I mean, come on. And not only that, but there is a reason why John and I steer clear of saying such things as Scott Taddick did it, or Terry Hobbs did it, or, whoever the fuck did it. The reason is that we don't know that unequivocally. We're interpreting the evidence. We're pulling the evidence apart. We're compiling our suspect list, and then we're weeding them out as you would in an actual investigation. So you can say Terry Hobbs did it all you want, but until you show me definitive fucking proof, I'm going to call bullshit, and I'm going to tell you that you're a moron. Sorry, but I am. And until you produce that proof, I'm not going to take you seriously. Because, I'm sorry, but you know what? There's a reason why I don't say those kinds of things. I don't say that because I wasn't there! I wasn't there! I don't know if they did it. I'm trying to find the fuck out. Don't like my shit? Don't fucking watch it. Move on. Get the fuck over yourself. Nobody fucking cares. Jesus Christ. I stopped taking you seriously when you started talking out your ass. And you started stating shit that, quite frankly, has absolutely no merit, no validity, and no evidence to back it up. Just saying. All right, moving on. I wanted to talk a little bit about the knife in the West Memphis 3 case. And I wanted to talk about the knife because I feel that it bears quite a bit on the situation. Because, okay, in 1993, when the children were first found and this shit show started, they tried to say that all of the marks on their body was caused by a knife. And it's not so, guys. And anybody who actually looked at those wounds and those marks and those pictures could actually say that pretty accurately. Because those wounds are not knife wounds. They're superficial or they're blatant claw marks. The difference between a knife and a claw mark is this. A knife, even a serrated knife, will leave a relatively clean wound. A serrated knife, there will be a little bit of tearing. There will be some jaggedness to it, but a claw has absolutely no real sharp edges to it, depending on the animal. And mainly it will be a ripping of the flesh as opposed to a cutting of the flesh. You see what I'm saying? So this knife, 6 months after Jason Baldwin, Jesse Misskelley Jr., and Damien Echols were arrested for this murder, these divers go into this lake behind Jason's house, and they find this knife, this giant fucking knife, this knife from hell, and it resembles a knife that Damien Echols at one point owned. Now get this shit though, guys. I was going through some of the case file last night. Did you know there was a second knife? Yeah, now I know that people that have actually read the case file, that have actually gone through the evidence, probably already know this, but a lot of the people that didn't go through the case file are probably not aware of this. But there was a second knife found in the woods, and it was broken. Now, as I said, most of the wounds on the victims are obvious animal scavengery. Some of them I'm still a little waffly on. That's where John comes in. John went to school for mortuary science, so he's better at interpreting the autopsy reports. But there was a second knife found near the woods. There was a second knife found in the woods. It was broken. Why didn't we hear about that one? Anybody? Because the knife from the pictures that I saw very much resembled the one that was presented at trial. So, what the fuck? Now, the prosecution claimed, though, that the knife that they found in the lake belonged to Damien Echols and that it was used in the murders, but there's no way that they could have told that. Because at one point, Damien Echols, from what I understand, did own a knife that was similar to that one, but no longer owned it. And how could they possibly know if it was connected to the murders? If there was no fucking physical evidence on it and it didn't match any of the tool marks on the bodies, they can't definitively link that fucking knife. That's point number one. Point number two is that a lot of the hair recovered at the crime scene was animal hair. So how did they not make the connection between the marks on the bodies and animal scavengery? I'm just saying. I just want to put that out there. However, the foreman in the Damien Echols and Jason Baldwin trial caused so many problems. His name was Ken Arnold. And he was convinced that Damien Echols and Jason Baldwin were guilty, and he wheedled his way not only onto the jury, but into the position of foreman, so that even after the trial was over, he called his attorney, and he was discussing stuff with his attorney during the whole trial that he shouldn't have been fucking discussing with anybody. And once the state rested their case, he calls up his attorney and he's like, I don't think that they proved their case. It's up to me now to convict those boys. Do you see what I'm saying here, folks? This is all shit that was supposed to come out in the evidentiary hearing that was supposed to take place 4 months after the boys took an Alford plea. You see? Now are you starting to form a mental picture? The funny thing is that what very few people know is that Terry Hobbs has a violent past. He's been known to beat Pam. In fact, he did beat Pam, and when Pam's father and brother showed up to help her, him and the brother got into a scuffling match, and he shot Pam's brother. Not only that, but did you know that in 1982, Terry Hobbs had an issue with his next door neighbor? He broke into her house and physically assaulted her as she was coming out of the shower because the day before that, she had knocked on his door and told him to quit beating his wife and his child. Yeah, Terry Hobbs has a violent fucking history. So, yeah, I hate to tell everybody, but that's a fucking red flag for a suspect. And yet, he was never questioned. He was never put through the rigmarole that John Mark Byers was put through, or Damien Echols, or Jason Baldwin, or Jesse Miss Kelly. And yet, he's the chief fucking motherfucker who had something to hide. Get this shit, though. The boys apparently went missing around 6 o'clock. Yeah? Okay. Follow with me on this. A neighbor of Terry Hobbs, and thereby Stephen Branch, from 3 doors down, remembered seeing the boys on the day of the murders at 6:30 with Terry Hobbs. And yet, nobody's explained that one. Nobody's told anybody anything. In fact, Terry Hobbs claims that at that time, he was out looking for the boys. Anybody else smell the bullshit? All right, folks, I have just gotten in Terry Hobbs' arrest record. So I'm going to go through that. I'm going to make up a video for you all. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, John and I will be being interviewed on Trial Talk Live, so tune in for that. And don't forget to visit us on over at cluetv.net. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.